And this is where I always tell people, look, follow the money.
It requires effort. It requires engagement, true engagement. You got to say yes. Some way, somehow, say yes.
That's where the innovation comes. We cannot be complacent.
Welcome, everyone, to episode number 22 of Move, Crush, Count. This is a podcast that's sponsored and produced by J&L Marketing. My name is Scott Joseph. Today's guest, Michael Porro. He is the managing partner of Honda World. It's located right here in Louisville, Kentucky. In fact, this episode is shot in the J&L Marketing headquarters in Louisville, right outside my office here. And so what I love about this episode is Michael is an expert when it comes to leadership and culture. He's an incredible operator. This is a high volume store. The episode is all about adapting to a fast changing marketplace. And he does that and gives there's a lot of gold nuggets in this. Great specifics on not just talking the talk when it comes to being customer centric, but actually walking the walk. And he gives specifics on what he does to really be customer centric. He's going to talk a lot about leadership and culture and what they've built there and the good things they've accomplished. So with that said, let's introduce Michael.
You're listening to Move, Crush, Count, hosted by Scott Joseph.
Today I am here with what I consider an adaptation. I'll say that, an adaptation expert, clearly an automotive expert or a retail expert, high-ticket retail, Michael Porro from Honda World. That's located here in Louisville, Kentucky. And by the way, we'll do a little plug for you, LouisvilleHondaWorld.com. What I love, and one of the biggest reason I wanted to interview you is I've seen your commercials, I've seen your marketing. I love what you're doing because it's very customer focused, and I think it's a perfect example of how to adapt to a very fast-paced or fast-changing marketplace. And so with everybody, we'll just kind of jump right in. You and I have already been talking, and hopefully we didn't waste a lot of good answers.
No.
That's why we're going to have to, Sydney is behind the camera, and we're going to have to find some good ways to get edit some of that stuff back in there because it's gold. So let's get the audience. I want them to understand your background because we've been talking here for 30 minutes prior to even shooting this, and I am excited about you sharing your knowledge and experience because there's a lot of it, and to me it's spot on. Talk to the audience, introduce yourself in terms of who you are, where'd you get all this knowledge, and
Well, I went to the University of Hard Knocks, so I learned it the hard way. Most of what I've learned by doing it wrong and then finding out the right way of doing it and being smart enough to know that it was wrong and being smart enough to know this right. I think it particularly in the automobile business, I think one of the major mistakes automobile dealers do is they think that doing the same thing over and over and over again is optimism. It's not. It's insanity. And, I'm a data guy. I got in this business. I want to show my age. I got in the business in 1978. I got in it by mistake. I wanted to be a doctor. I don't think anybody wakes up or goes to bed every night and says, okay, when I grow up, I want to be a car guy. But by the way, I didn't like car guys when I got in this business, and I still don't consider myself a car guy. I'm a businessman. And I think that's probably one of the edges that I've had was I'm always open to better ideas. And I tell my sales associates and my service associates, my business associates, that if their idea is better than mine, we're going to use their idea. And I think we'd be crazy. I'm a data freak. I read. I watch videos. I'm constantly educating myself to make myself better. I've been in the business for, in October it's going to be 42 years. And I love it. I look forward to doing it. One of the things that acquainted me with Scott was I like his slogan. Your slogan is what? Move, crush, and what else?
Count.
And count.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. I love moving. I love counting. I love crushing. Okay? So that's my background.
I love that you said you're a businessman. And the reason I said, I interviewed Grant Cardone and I asked him, do you feel like, because I thought he grew up as a sales trainer, right? You know Grant. Yeah. And so grew up as a sales trainer, moved, and he's become an incredible marketer, right? Especially of his own.
Nobody markets Grant better than Grant.
That's correct.
Yeah.
And so I asked him, are you a better marketer? Are you a marketer now or a sales trainer or salesman, sales training? And he goes, I'm neither. I'm a businessman. And what's great about that answer is a businessman finds way to succeed and isn't pigeonholed by saying, well, this is what I am.
Yeah.
Right? They just find the path of success that's going to bring the most success. And I love that answer. So that's great. And so you've already said you don't have any really formal training. It's a business you've learned mostly by hard knocks.
Well, I've been fortunate enough to partner with some of the big companies, like Cox Automotive. We spoke earlier.
Yeah.
And
We're going to ask them for sponsorship because of that plug.
They probably earn it. Yeah. They probably owe it to both of us.
Yeah.
But no. I mean, Scott, I read a lot. I belong to a 20 group.
Yep.
I go to the NADA conventions, not to make friends, okay?
Yep.
But I go to the classrooms so that I can learn. I always want to get better, and I just have this ongoing thirst for more knowledge.
Yeah. And so here we are. We are in an era where every business is like just looking for the end. And of course, nobody knows where that exists, that end line is for this COVID stuff and all the restrictions that are on everybody. But businesses have done a great job of adapting. It's amazing how good we are at adapting when we have to adapt versus doing it and being proactive about it. But what I wanted, and one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is you were actually proactive, which helped you a great deal, kind of put you steps ahead of a lot of people, I would say, in that area. And so one of the things you've done is you've made it very easy. You've got easy purchase, made it very easy for customers, whether to research, find out the information they want to get from you, or even buy from you. And so my question to you is, I talk to a lot of dealers, a lot of them have been on this show as well. What do you say to the people that say, you know what, we do digital retailing, we give them all this information, but our customers still want to buy from us in person. We don't sell a lot online. We don't sell a lot over the phone. They still want to come in, so it's more of just a lead source for us.
Well, if that was true, Scott, I don't think Mr. Bezos would be the richest man in the world.
Yeah.
Okay. What I would say to them is they need to ask better questions, and I think they need to ask their customers better questions. I mean, how do they know?
Yeah.
I wouldn't tell them anything. I would actually ask them something. I would say, Mr. Business Manager, how do you know? Yeah. And
most would
that would what they would do is that would force them to ask their customers questions. Okay, let me tell you something. My customers run my dealership. I don't run my dealership.
Yeah.
My associates don't run a dealership. We're there to provide a service for them. But everybody's so intimidated with digital marketing. And that's one of the things you asked me to come and talk about.
Yeah.
But think about it. All digital marketing is marketing digitalized.
That's right.
Right? I mean,
that's exactly.
back when your dad was in the automobile business, your dad was a great marketer, right? I mean, he got people to cross the bridge and buy tons of Toyotas, right? I mean, if you look at it, if you take the same concepts that he took back in that day and say, okay, great, what do I want to do? Well, I want to put an ad in the Courier Journal. Yeah. And he put an ad in the Courier Journal, and if it didn't work, he changed the ad, right?
That's right.
If that didn't work, he changed the ad. And all of a sudden, he put an ad in it and said, okay, great. This is actually working. This is pulling traffic in, right? So basically, he was listening to what the market does, and what he was doing unknowingly, probably back in the day, was he was going where the data was sending him, right?
That's right.
So that's what we do now. What we do is we look at any business that doesn't master Google Analytics is crazy.
You're right.
You got to look at the data. Go where the data goes. What do your customers want?
It's actually never been easier as a marketer. All the information that marketers have wanted for years is now right at their fingertips. Yeah. And back in the day, so, we do all kinds of channels here. So, we're doing obviously all the paid media, which would be, your paid search, your display, your paid social, but we also do a lot of direct marketing, which can involve what we would put as email, direct mail, and all this other stuff. The downside to direct mail, right, is I throw it out there, and then I've got to wait 30 days and ask that question similar to what you just mentioned with the newspaper. Did it work, right? What's beautiful about digital is I can look at it every single day. Is it working? I don't have to wait 30 days and hope it worked and then wow, it didn't, or it did, I can sit there and make adjustments on the fly,
Yeah.
right, to whatever the market's telling me. All of a sudden, the search is going up here, or this is what they are interested in, or this is my inventory levels. Why am I still advertising this percentage of money on vehicles I don't even have in stock?
Yes.
So you can kind of steer all this to where it's just money better spent, and more importantly, money where customers are actually interested in what the heck you're talking about.
I couldn't agree with you more. I tell you, though, I wouldn't shortcut the direct mail business, because I think what you do is you can combine that direct mail with your digital campaign.
Correct.
Let's face it, everybody wants leads.
Yep.
So, but why do you want the lead? So you want the lead so you can generate a dialogue, and if you can get, we talked about medicine earlier when I first got here. What you do is you want to get precise, and what you're going to hear in the medical industry in years to come is precise medicine. And I think what you do is our marketing has to be precise.
Yes.
So if I know where you're at in the buying cycle, then you're going to get that direct mail piece from me. I think what happens, the fallacy in direct mail today is everybody gets the same cookie cutter piece
Correct.
of direct mail. But if I could get so precise where I know that you came in hypothetically a year ago, 2 years ago, and your credit was substandard, and we sold you and the rate was a little high, what did we tell you at that time? We told you what? We said, hey, listen, Scott, if you make your payments on time, right? What we'll do is we'll be able to get you the next time around into a lower one. Now, all of a sudden, guess what? 2 years later, you get that mail from me and say, guess what? You paid on time. I can lower your rate. They'll come in. And then what you could do is you can measure that also if the call to action is to lead them to to your web page, okay, or a landing page, or have them call and you're listening to those calls every day.
That's right.
So I think what you would do is, I think your marketing, has to be precise.
The riches are in the
Right.
niches.
And make sure that you're spending. And what you do is you're gonna lose a little bit of money by finding out where that sweet spot is. But when you find that sweet spot,
Hammer it home.
yeah. And then what you do is just keep hammering until it doesn't work anymore. And then when that doesn't
never
work,
leave a heater.
yeah. And then when that doesn't work, you do something different. Don't be like the average car. You'll see what they'll do is they'll just keep doing the same thing. It's like,
Right.
hey, I do this. If it doesn't work, I do something different. If that doesn't work, I do something
Yeah,
different.
once you establish the new benchmark, then you should always be trying to bring in new ideas and testing them against the new benchmark.
Yeah.
And once you find something that can outperform that, you have the choice. Something else that's not performing to this benchmark can be eliminated, and you can do both, or you just improve on what's already working.
Yeah, perfect example. When we do digital marketing through our SEO, what we'll do is we'll put together 4 different campaign spots, commercial spots,
Yeah.
and then what we'll do is we'll see which ones are performing the best.
Yeah.
So if we have 3 aren't performing, then we'll keep the one, and then we'll say, okay, great. How can we make that one better?
Yeah, you brought up a great thing. You say the customer runs your store. You listen to the customer. What I like, and that all came about because I asked you, what do you say to these people that say we're not selling online? It's more we do digital retailing, right? It's a lead source for us. And so one thing that I think where a lot of businesses have gotten a lot better because of the COVID and because of some of the shutdowns, especially in the car business, because everybody's going to digital retailing, but they're kind of, they're half-assing it a little,
Yes.
right? All right, they're not fully committed to it. And so now that they had to become fully committed, you talked earlier about you had a sales team went from 20-something to 4 salespeople, correct?
Yeah, before COVID, we were closed down for all intents and purposes a little over 2 months. I had 24 sales associates.
Yeah.
Actually, we don't call them sales associates because they don't sell anymore. Because we're, for all intents and purposes, we're a one-price store. We don't negotiate. There's no haggling, no hassle.
Yeah.
Okay, and people shouldn't have to.
Right.
Could you imagine going on to Amazon and having to negotiate for a product? Give the customer enough information where they can intelligently say, okay, that's the one I want.
Yeah.
Hey, that one has a great rating and it's a fair price.
Yeah.
And basically, that's what we've done. We want to be the Amazon of the automobile business.
So let's talk about that for a second. I got 10 customers out there,
Yes.
right? So the reason some people are slow to adapt is because they're so worried about the 1 or 2 people that want to negotiate. And then, wow, if I give my best price and never really talk to them, they're just going to go somewhere else and someone else will just beat that price and they'll go there. What they fail to realize is the way Amazon has conditioned us to buy now, right? It's more about convenience, time savings. They don't want the tension of that negotiation. So what's happening is, in your system, let's say I go on to your stuff, you give me all the information, and I do shop you, all right? You're playing the odds that every single dealership I go to, or the majority of them, they're not going to make it as easy on me as you did. And what's going to end up happening is I go there and I say, all right, I'm on their internet, and I say, what is your best price? And then they start doing the typical
high ball, low ball, screw ball.
When can you come in? When can you come in? When can you come in? I need to see you before I can give you all this crap, right? And so now I'm like, I'm not dealing with that. I'm just going to go back to you. It's easier. And so what you lose on the guy that does shop you and wants to go through that crap, you gain 2 times that on just making it easier and faster for everybody.
Scott, if the only bullet I had in my gun was price, I would never win.
Yeah.
Okay? If every dealer, because every dealer buys a car from the manufacturer for the same price.
Yeah.
And so I stack the deck because I build the value up. See, so what you can't get in any other dealer, at least here in the state of Kentucky. Okay,
And by the way, they're the largest Honda dealer in the state.
Yeah.
So,
at one time, we were the largest dealer in the state,
Yeah.
and we're hoping to get back to that status, both pre-owned, new and used.
yeah.
But what it do is, when at my dealership, it's not all about price. So what we do is, we advertise our price as low as we possibly can. Everybody says, well, Mike, because we, being a dealer, we can't say invoice or cost or anything like that.
Honda's strict.
So what we do is to maintain the integrity of the brand. Honda will not allow us to advertise a car lower than invoice.
Yep.
And you know why I advertise my cars for invoice? Because I can't advertise them lower. And that's the only reason they're there.
You've already reached the finish line.
So what I do is,
to the bottom there.
so what I do is, I want to make a customer, not a dollar.
Yep.
See, because if I make the customer, the dollar will come. So what I want to do is I want to make a customer, and then I want to make another customer, and I want to make another customer, and I want to make another customer. That's how we grew our business. I mean, how can a Honda dealer? Think about this: a Honda dealer in Louisville, Kentucky. We got 2 Ford plants. We got a Toyota plant that's 40 minutes south.
That's right.
And for the longest time, we outsold at every Ford store and at every Toyota store in the state of Kentucky. And the way we established that was by giving the customers more for less. Now, you come and you buy a car from me, it's impossible for you to make a mistake. So when I tell you I stack the deck with you, not only get if it's just a great price, but you can't make a mistake because I have what I call a love it or leave it program. You love that car, you keep it. If you don't love it, you leave it. 100% money back guarantee.
Yeah.
We give their customers.
I love that because there's a lot of dealers. You see the Carvana and your stuff like that with their guarantees, and a lot of dealers are afraid to commit to that.
Well, Carvana, I don't know if you did any research. I told you earlier, I'm a crazy data guy, research guy. Do yourself a favor. I think the public needs to do themselves a favor. Don't enter and check and look at the social responses that they're getting from Carvana.
Correct.
See, what happens is they want to sell you a car, and what happens when something breaks down, you got to talk to somebody in Pakistan.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Let me just say, my name's on the door, and I'm on the floor every day.
That's right.
And you have a problem. We're going to fix it. I don't want an unsatisfied customer in my car.
It's great you say that because that goes back to, I think, one of the greatest advantages dealers have is the community presence they have. And so I do not envy you. So I've got 3 stores. I don't live in my markets. So they're all outside of this, right? The closest one's like 4.5 hours away. And I have to tell you, it's a lot of pressure on you because everywhere you go, you have to be on because you're known as Honda World. You got to be nice to everybody. You can't never have an off day.
How can that be bad? How can that?
I didn't say it's bad. It's hard.
No, it really isn't. I mean, you got to be yourself.
Yeah.
Prior to becoming an owner of this store, the Sam Swope Automotive Group owned the store. I tell you what, one of the things that I learned from Dick and Sam, people always say, well, what did you learn from those guys? And I tell you what, I learned how to be a better gentleman.
Yeah.
And I tell you something, I don't think anybody had a better presence in this community than Sam Swope did.
No.
But can we tell you something, okay? We were taught at a very early age. I started with Sam in 1996, and we were taught at a very early age that the customer is always right is not a slogan. It really is. I mean, that's how we built. That's how we built our business. And I've been smart enough to latch on and continue that.
Well, when you think about your philosophy is you want to sell regardless of all that. You want a customer. It kind of goes into some of the original taglines back when he owned that, and that is no one walks away. It's the same philosophy.
I mean, you think about it. You think about my current partner right now, Terry Taylor.
Yeah.
I mean, Terry has well over 100 stores.
Yeah.
When I first met him, my first meeting with him is he emphasized to me the most important thing in his organization and how to grow his organization was customer satisfaction.
That's right.
And he showed me a list and he checks them every day, and he says, "Let me tell you something. If you end up being on the red list, you don't want to be on the red list."
Yeah.
And he says, "If you are on the red list, you won't be with me very, very long."
Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, you don't have hundreds of dealerships by not having a true customer synergy philosophy.
So let's go back to adapting real quick. When you talk about and you went from the 24 reps down to the 4.
Yeah.
The biggest thing that I saw that helped other dealers and probably brought them a little bit in the direction you already had was a lot of them didn't have a choice. Customers weren't allowed to come into their showroom and buy cars. And all of a sudden, in all the dealers I started talking to is like, so it's funny, you brought up earlier to the person that says we can't sell online. Did you ask her why is that?
Yeah.
But when they had to, all of a sudden dealers were like waking up and being like, you mean, wow, they will buy on the phone. They'll commit to us saying, I've got dealers telling me, yeah, my salesperson sold a car at 11 o'clock at night. So, and that's great, right? And so what's great about what you've done in all reality is dealerships, the overhead, you have to have the right location. The real estate's expensive. The manufacturer expects you to build these beautiful museums, right? So it's a lot of money you're throwing in there. And then you shut down for 12 hours a day and can't do any business. But the way you're set up, you can do business 24/7. I mean, theoretically.
And ironically, we do.
Yeah.
We do. I measure every day. I count every day. Right now, on my internet sources, my number one closing source is my Easy Purchase.
Yeah.
We're transitioning. We're transitioning more deals every month. It's growing. It's picking up momentum. And you think, well, as the volume picks up, then what's going to happen is your conversion rate's going to go down a little bit. Well, actually, the transitions are going up and the conversion rate's going up.
That's right.
I mean, so we're getting hundreds of people coming in,
well, you can also handle more. It allows you to handle more leads. The customer satisfaction's improved because you're just giving them what they want faster and easier. You can do it with less people
because you sped up the process.
Correct.
You sped up the process. When I took over,
which also the people that you have right now, I don't know how many salespeople you at right now.
Well, right now we're sitting at 16.
All right, so you're 16.
Yeah.
They're a lot happier.
Yeah.
And probably making a lot more money than back when you had 24.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're selling more and making more.
Right.
Which is kind of like it's a win for everybody. The customer's winning, your employees are winning, and you're winning.
Right.
So that's what I love about it.
Who wants to spend 3-4 hours at a car dealership?
Oh, I look anytime I'm in the market for a car, I just can't wait to wake up on a Saturday morning and just say, oh, great, I'm going to spend, and then if I don't like it, I'm going to spend a couple hours at this dealership, and if I don't like it, I get to drive to another one.
Yeah. And then you go in there and you go back and forth, and they're going back to talk to the guy behind the curtain. And all. I mean, yeah, it's crazy.
Correct.
I mean, you just got to make it seamless. You got to make it frictionless.
So what tip would you give to someone? Because the majority of the dealers that are out there, and this, by the way, you don't have to be an auto dealer. The key to adapting, everyone thinks is I've got to find the software, or I've got to find the process that disrupts. So you keep bringing up Amazon, and he's got a great quote. Disruption doesn't come from trying to disrupt. If you want to truly disrupt, you have to look at what isn't going to change. Everyone thinks I have to change something to disrupt. what isn't going to change? And then you just find better ways to do that. In other words, what's not going to change in the next 5 to 10 years is going to be people still want to buy a car, but they want it. What's not going to change is they still want to do it faster. They still want to save money, and they want to make it easier on themselves. That's never going to change, at least not in the foreseeable future, right? And so what can I do to do that? And that's where what you're doing with the digital retailing. But my thing is, what tips? Because you've already committed to it. You got both feet in this, right? And it's the only time anything really succeeds. So what tip do you give that guy that's kind of half in and still wants to kind of hold on to some other things?
I would recommend two things. Get in. I mean, fully get in. I mean,
what does that mean?
Well, you have to sit down and make a commitment. I am going to make this work, and you know what? And I'm going to learn by my mistakes. It's not going to be perfect. I mean, none of our processes. We have processes for processes. Okay, we have a process map, work instructions on everything. Because what happens is, I use the analogy all the time. It's like painting by numbers. Remember, you were a kid and you bought this. I mean, I could look like Rembrandt if I paint by the numbers. So the second thing is make it easy. Yeah. See, our online digital purchasing is called easy purchase. Make it easy. Because here's the thing, Scott. Easy gets done. See, if I could do something and it's like follow 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, A, B, C. I'm going to do it more often. Yeah. So if the process is simple, make the process simple for yourself and make it easy for your customer.
Correct.
I mean, we're constantly looking at ways of making it easier. Okay? Every week, my general sales manager is dialoguing with his customers, which are our selection experts. What can we do to make it easier? What can we do to make it better? Okay?
You're working. That brings up a great thing, and that brings up Steve Jobs. He believes in working backwards, right? You start with the customer and you work your way back to the product. What do they want, right? Instead of, and so I sit here, and the same goes for good marketing. Anytime you have where marketers make a mistake is they get so bought into what they want to market, and really you have to work your way backwards from sales. So it has to start with sales, and then you have marketing that does a good job supporting that. But one of if you want to change your process in business, I am a firm believer that the best way to do that is to create a lot of customer interest in whatever you're doing, because businessmen are very good at all of a sudden my customers are asking me for this, or they're wanting this, of adjusting the process then when the customer is demanding.
What they want to do is they want to be tactical.
Correct.
And very few leaders in this business are strategic.
Yeah.
So I sit down and say, great. And I think men in general do that. Yeah. It took my wife 32 years to train me to listen, right? And I think what we do is we have to become better listeners. Yeah. We got to be better listeners. We got to be really, really, really quick to listen. Yeah. Okay. And we got to be very, very slow to reply and very slow to anger. And I think what happens is that most business people don't have they want to tell you what they want to do, and they don't want to find out what you want to do.
Right.
And I think when you see it, you really got to start. The car business is the car business. Any other business you go into, I come from a family of builders. What we do is if we were going to build a home, we started with a blueprint. And what we did was we wanted to make sure that home had a real solid foundation and build upon it. And what car guys do is kind of like everything by the hip. And not necessarily car people, but I'd say the average business person. And the reason the average business person is average because they're doing average things. But just go back to what you said. What they got to do is they got to start saying, okay, great, what do I want to accomplish? What's the objective?
Yeah.
What outcome do I want?
That's right.
But so if the outcome is what I want to do is I want Joseph, to contact my dealership, then what I need to do is I need to find out from my current customer base, what do I got to do to attract more Scott Josephs? Yeah. Now when I do contact you, okay, and you contact me, then what I got to do is I got to find a way to engage with you, okay, on your level. And what better way to ask you, basically, real simple, Scott, how do you want to buy a car?
Well, we were talking about this earlier, and so hopefully we didn't waste it all prior to all this stuff rolling. So you're a big believer on being where your customer's at, but you take it, when I talk about having 2 feet in, and I think there's, you exemplify that because it's not just about being physically where they're at. Well, I want to make sure I'm front and center when they're on their couch when they're at the office and pulling up information, wherever, right?
Yeah.
But you're also front and center where they are at mentally. Where are they in the buying process?
Yes.
Right? And so let's talk a little bit about that if you can.
Well, what we do is I've built a fortress around my database, and we work our database every day.
Yeah.
And it's really, really simple. I mean,
by the way, where do you see your biggest opportunity for growth? Is it with your previous or conquest?
well, I tell you the thing. I think charity begins at home.
Okay, that's right.
I think it's a lot more expensive
Yes, it
to
is.
go out there and conquest somebody else's customer.
Yep.
And it's a lot wiser to retain your customer. We've talked about the sales part of the business, and that's many moons ago, a dealership, stayed profitable with their sales department. Well, let me tell you something.
No.
Not today.
No.
I mean, in the
Service
service business, if I lose your maintenance business, if I lose your tire business, I lose your maintenance business.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate when I took this Honda store over. I took it over from a really great leader, and the place was doing really, really good. But my fixed operations never, during the old regime, never exceeded $500,000 in fixed operations gross.
Yeah.
Last month we had a bad month. We did 750. So, and what do you do? How do you get your service customers coming back in? It's the same thing. You ask them what they want.
Yeah.
I'm spending $6 million to extend my service facility. We were talking about brick and mortar.
Yep.
Yeah,
But
I
that's
don't
where
think
it needs to be spent.
Right. I don't think the brick and mortar is as important for variable operation. But don't get me wrong. We, prior to this construction, we had the nicest showroom in the city, probably one of the nicest in the state. I gutted it, so I'm going to make it even nicer, make it even easier, more customer friendly.
Yeah.
Because what we want to do is we want to make it so the customer come in, like you said, just be fast and friendly, just fast and friendly.
Yeah.
But in my service facility, I mean, just some, we stay in touch with our customers.
Yeah.
Well,
every dollar that you bring in on the front end in sales, I mean, quite honestly, service is worth 5 to 6 times that. So if your service dollar is worth 5 to 6 times what your sales dollar is.
Well, properly ran. I mean, if you want to just use average numbers, if a dealer gets out of his own way, and these are built by great numbers but average numbers, okay, they'll retain 70%. They'll serve 70% gross to sales.
Yeah.
And if they manage their expenses properly, they'll do anywhere between 30 to 40% in that.
That's right.
I run 200 plus repair orders for my service department every day. I mean, just something, and you know what it is? I just get the best people.
It's great about that when you have that type of volume too. The efficiency and productivity is important everywhere, but when you have that type of volume, just the slightest tweaks and improvements can make such a big difference.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how much you can add to the bottom line.
Well,
but that goes back to you're feeding the machine with the volume.
Yes, but let me tell you how we grew it. We grew it with feedback from our customers. I'm no better than anybody else. Really, I don't think I'm any smarter than anybody else. I've learned to ask better questions.
Yeah.
Okay? And so we asked our customers, why are you not doing your maintenance? When you came in, you bought a car, you serviced the car through the warranty process. Why don't you do maintenance with it? And they said, you guys are too much. You guys cost too much. Yeah. So guess what? I got my people together and said, guess what? We're charging too much. Well, how do you know? Because the customers are telling us, right? So what we did was we put together what was a deer to compare program. Yeah. So what we do is every month we call when we shop, and as you know, as well, Louisville. I mean, these big blocks. These independents are. I mean, you can't go a block without seeing 2 or 3 independents.
Well, and that's a big challenge for dealers, right? Because a lot of industries face similar challenges to this, and that is that you're from a service standpoint, you're being robbed by independents because what they basically said is, well, we don't want that, this, or this, but we like the tire part, we like the brake part. I think we're going to specialize in some of these things, all right? And they take what's most profitable, and you have the perception, or the customer has the perception that those places are less expensive. The other thing the dealer challenges is they're national brands.
Right.
I can tell you because we work with one of them. All right, they literally spend tens of millions of dollars in digital marketing. A dealer cannot compete in a digital budget doing it the way they're doing it. They can compete, but it takes them. You got to outsmart and outmarket these people, because you're not going to be able to ever outspend them if you want your ads to be seen digitally. And quite honestly, if I own a car, and it's not like the old days. It's not like I'm sitting there saying, well, let me mark 3,500 miles down. I got to go see Mike. All right? That's not happening anymore. The light comes on in my car. I'm notified that, hey, something's wrong. I need to go get in there, and that's when I'm going in. It's reactionary.
Right.
And so if I'm out of warranty and I have this perception that you're more expensive than this independent who pounds me with ads, when I hear a rattle or something doesn't feel right or the car notifies me, the first thing I do is I pick up my phone and I search. Brakes near me, oil change near me. It's generic.
Right.
You can't afford to bid on that, but these guys are. These guys are bidding on, these independents are bidding on that. And so there are ways to make sure your ad is front and center with that. And you can outsmart those guys. But that's the battle, that it's not just dealers. Other industries are facing similar, community-based businesses, small businesses face similar challenges. And so how do you combat that?
Well, it goes back to what you said. You said earlier is, am I going after conquest customers, or am I taking care of my database? Well, see, I earned you as a customer. Okay. Now what I got to do is I got to earn the right to keep you as my customer. So if we stay in constant contact, okay, I contact my database, my entire database, 3 times every month.
Yeah.
I know.
A lot of people.
I have a
the entire database.
I have a service. I have a service communication, and it's what's in it for you. Okay. I have a new car communication.
Yeah.
It's what's in it for you. Used car communication. What's in it for you? So I'm constantly keeping my name in front of you. That way I don't have to go in and spend a fortune to try to compete with the national brands on SEO, or So what I want to do is I want to build that organic presence.
Yeah.
So
you hit the list.
Let me just say, if you're not on page 1, okay, you're dead.
That's correct.
So what I want to do is I want to improve my organic, so that when you do go in there and say, okay, Honda service, okay, that I have enough people that are going onto my YouTube page that are building up my organic, okay. Videos where people are building up my organic, and then communicate with my customers via the direct mail.
That's right.
The beautiful thing is, if I can make you happy on your Honda, how many automobiles do you have in your household?
In my house?
Yeah, in your household. Yeah.
Normally 3.
Okay, so there. Yeah. So let's just say one of them.
Right now,
let's say one of them was a Honda, and I sold it. I had a pleasure of running your business, right? Let's say the 2 others. Maybe one's a Chevrolet and one's a Kia.
Yeah.
Okay? Well, we service all makes and models.
Yeah. So
if you're happy with the way the service goes, and you know that I am, my service is just as affordable or less expensive than these national brands, because you talked about the perception.
How do you fight this perception? So I own the Kia.
Mm-hmm.
You're a Honda dealer,
mm-hmm.
right? With the independents, the perception is they can service everybody.
Well, so can we.
I know, but how do you fight that perception that I'm a Kia? Say the Honda dealer's not going to know my Kia as well as the independent or the Kia dealer. How do you fight that?
Well, it's real simple. They brag about they brag about being ASE certified.
Yeah.
All my technicians are ASE certified. And then what we do is we take it to the next level. We spend thousands upon thousands of dollars, as you know, being a dealer, educating our master technicians.
Yep.
So what we do is we just keep reinvesting in our technicians. And that's an education. Let me tell you something. Don't call one of these guys a mechanic today. They're not mechanics. They were technicians.
Yep.
A new Accord has more electronic components on it than the Apollo spaceship that put the first man on the moon. And so, they're very sophisticated. We're better equipped to handle those.
Yeah.
Plus, let me tell you something. Name one independent will pick up and deliver your car.
That's exactly.
We'll do that.
So you're on to something here. And the key, obviously, is communicate. It doesn't matter how great you are if you don't communicate it to everybody, but You're hitting your list 3 times. And for those of you that are out there, I don't care what industry you're in, there's always this fear of I don't want to hit it too much. I don't want to hit the list because you're under the impression that they're paying attention to begin with.
Scott, you mentioned Grant Cardone.
Yeah.
Now, let me tell you something. Who keeps in contact with you more than Grant Cardone?
Correct.
Okay?
That's right.
You know, I mean, if
Well,
that's
that's his.
proved,
I stole that from him. Hit the list.
If it is approved, if Grizz proved anything, okay, it's communication.
That's
so.
correct.
Guess what? The people that don't like you hit them 10 times. Okay, you don't want those people anyways.
Well, odds are they didn't see 8 of them,
Right.
so or pay attention, right? And so it became relevant for them. But you just said something about people and some of the extra value you can provide that independents can. And so I did an interview, and I'm going to be doing a future interview with David Boyle, so Tire Profilers.
Yeah.
All right. He deals. One of his big customers is a huge national independent, and so he was talking to him. And this company in the billions, right? What keeps them up at night? What's their biggest fear? And you know what the guy said? He goes, the day the dealers wake up. And the reason he said that, because right now all these independents are stealing the profit. They're going after the things that are most profitable, and also going after what's not going to change, because as more cars go electric and there's less parts and maintenance to be done, they're still going to need brakes, they're still going to need tires, there's still certain things they're going to need.
Well, that's
right?
one of the things that the public doesn't realize about these independents. See, what they'll do is the tire stores, they'll sell you tires cheaper than anybody, and then they'll charge you more for maintenance than anybody.
Get them in.
You know, and I mean, it's
That's exactly right. And so what he was afraid of, he goes, because when the dealers wake up and realize, and they get as aggressive on fixed as they do on the variable, he goes, then we're in trouble. And the reason for that is a lot of different things. And one of the things that he brought up was they're able to attract better employees. And this doesn't, I'm not trying to bash the people that work at the independents, but you're able to attract.
I'm at that luxury point. I mean,
That's correct.
Let me tell you something. I got the best associates in town. I'd probably say anywhere.
And you're also doing things. You have the scalability. You're also doing things because your new car customer demands that delivery and drop off and all that other stuff. So you're doing things that it's going to be very difficult unless they wake up to that. I can tell you right now, there's a couple things about COVID I hope never change. And that's when I run an errand, I never have to get out of my car anymore. I absolutely love that. You know, we had a party and we had the bundt cake. All right. I get in there, I text them, I'm here. Out comes my cake. I never had to leave my car. It saved me so much time. I can run 5 errands in half the time.
Companies have become more efficient.
Yeah, I love it. So here you are. You got both feet in. You're all in on the digital retailing and doing well with it. Where do you see, and it doesn't have to be focused on that, just what keeps you up at night? What do you see as the biggest challenges right now?
Well, I'll tell you, I only operate on 4 hours of sleep, so nothing really it really keeps me up. I just want to get better every day. You know, when I tell something, when I wake up, I do my prayers every morning. I do them on the way into work every morning, and what I want to do is I want to be better today than I was yesterday. That's all I want to do.
What about that makes it hard? So, what is it that's the challenge about improving?
I'll tell you right now. I mean, the biggest challenge in my industry right now is inventory. Yeah. We're turning our used car inventory right now. This morning, I was almost 30 times a year.
Are you doing a lot of buyback? And so obviously you're going to have to be out there to your previous customers, trying to buy their trades.
Believe me, I'm doing it. Doing everything to pull people ahead. But the thing is you're a Honda dealer. You realize this. My average service customer, the average miles on an odometer are close to 90,000 miles. So people are holding on to the cars a lot longer.
Yep.
Okay. So by the time you get a 120,000 mile car, not all those cars are retailable. So even though we're trading for cars, because right now we trade for a little over 60% of what we look at. It's called look to book. So we look at a car and the ones we look at, we book 60% of those. But it still can't keep up. It just can't keep up. And prior to this, if we stocked 150 used cars, we'd sell 200. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. I mean, at any given time last month, I'll give for example, because this month is over, and it's trending the same way, even a little better this month. We never physically had 50 cars on our lot, on our used car showroom, lot, and we were selling them before they would actually get through our reconditioning process. And what was happening was I had to find a way to stop.
Who do you use
Stop.
for that, by the way?
For reconditioning,
Yeah.
I have my own reconditioning shop.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I started my own reconditioning shop many moons ago.
Do you use any tools or software or anything like that helps you get things done quicker?
You know,
or
we
better?
did. We early on we used Rapid Recon.
Okay.
And I became pretty good friends with Tommy Gibbs.
Yep.
Tommy came out with a program called Up by Gross.
I asked that only so
phenomenal product.
so we can tell Tommy that you mentioned him and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
And
and then
then-
he'll share it.
Yeah.
So-
I'll tell you what, Scott. If you've never sat down and talked to Tommy, probably a great guy to get on your show.
All right.
I mean, he's the real deal. You know, I mean, no BS.
All right.
I mean, he's just
Good.
a really good guy. But yeah, we use his product, and it not only helps us with the reconditioning, but it also helps us with our aging process.
Yep.
You know, we don't hold on to a car. We don't. What we do is we price the car
Where it needs to be.
as soon as we buy it, right off the shelf. There's no haggling, no hassling.
That's right.
And we're turning the car so fast we can't get enough. We can't trade for enough. We can't get enough.
Well, that's so.
I
When
mean,
you think about
it's
the
a
way-
great. I think it's a great problem,
I want
right?
you to think about that, right? Think about the way it used to be. I need to make this on this used car. I need my average to be my average instead of just pricing it to where it will quickly sell in the market and make your money. Are you better off selling a car at, and I'm just going to throw numbers out there, $1,000 profit, all right, and selling 3 of them in a month, or selling the one for $2,000? You know, you've gained 3 customers. All the other profit centers that come after the sale happen. And so, but that's what it is about. The volume and the turn on that.
Think about this. I mean, how did Amazon get so big?
That's right.
They did it on volume. How did Walmart get?
I love
you know,
Bezos.
you know,
We're quoting him a lot here. I love his quote: "Your margin is my opportunity."
you know. I mean, I have the best partner in the world. I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah,
By scaling up.
that's right.
You know, by concentrating on have the best facilities, the best people running the facilities, and keeping the customers completely satisfied.
So where do you?
I mean, it doesn't get any simpler than that.
No, it doesn't.
And here's the nice thing is, any business, and we're going back to early, forget about just the automobile, but any business can do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
just go in and every day and do the next right thing.
That's right.
You know, because let me tell you, when you do the next right thing, I'm living proof of that.
You know,
Okay?
which you're also living proof on. And we just talked about this. We do a thing every other week on D-Win. And we spent a lot of time last week talking about working on the business instead of in it. And everything you're really, and I'm not saying you're not in it, because working effectively on it, you are in it. But
No, you got to find a balance. Because early on in my career, I mean, I was in the business.
that's right.
And sometimes you get so close to the forest, you can't even see the trees.
Correct.
And then what happens is you want to defend your position.
That's
Right.
exactly right.
And then you never open your mind. You never open
And
your mind.
that's where I was
to
going
it,
with
right?
this. I feel like
Yeah.
you have spent a lot of the things that you're talking about that have made such a big impact are a result of working on it
Right.
and strategy.
Well,
and
you need to be humbled. You need to
Yeah.
lose. I mean, I've been extremely successful, extremely lucky, but you know what I mean is I've learned so much more by making mistakes. I hate to say that. I make mistakes. I've learned from those mistakes, and I've learned to become a better listener. I've become a better listener, and I've learned how to ask better questions.
I remember my first podcast that I did an interview for. And Sandy Cerami, good friend, outstanding person. I consider him a big expert when it comes to leadership and culture. He asked me some stuff, and I told him I just feel like there's a lot of areas I got lucky, you know, and he shut me down. It wasn't luck, and I get that, you know, but
Let's call it blessed. Replace the word with luck with blessed. We were very, very blessed.
Well, you're luck in the sense that there are some things through hard work and just a drive of whatever you're doing that come to you, not because that was your intention initially, but you lucked into this because of some of the actions you took, right? And some of the things you were doing. And then all of a sudden you realize, oh, here's an opportunity, or look what we lucked into here. And I learned, and all of a sudden things just adapt because you're listening to customers and and just things that come to you that you had initially you weren't going there at all.
Well, I'll tell you what I think. I think one of the things also, you know, you were asked me what I share with other business owners is you got to love what you're doing. I mean, if you don't love what you're doing, man,
Yeah.
get the hell out.
That's right.
You know, I mean, how can you go all in if you're not both mentally and physically? I mean, physically, you got to be mentally. You got to love what you're doing. Scott, I tell you what, I could not do it if I didn't love it. If it ever got to the point where I didn't love it, you know, quick story. When before Mr. Taylor bought our store, you probably heard this story before. Okay, the previous owner, Patty Swope, she let the cat out of the barrel early.
I knew about it.
Okay, yeah, I mean, well, everybody in town knew it. Okay, and you know, knowing Mr. Taylor wants to do, will come in and buy a store.
Yep.
There's a gag order. And what happened was it was premature by like over 90 days.
Yeah.
Now you imagine the fear for my associates on that. And it goes back to tell you how great
a lot
my
of
associates.
anxiety.
But one of the things we did was we concentrated on. And I told my managers, I got all my managers, I said, let me tell you something, guys. We have nothing to worry about. We're number one in the marketplace. I said, let me tell you something. If the new dealer doesn't like us, he'll like us a whole hell of a lot less by being us being his competitor. Okay, so what you do is you can't have fear, and you got to love what you're doing.
That's right.
And I'm very proud to say that I mean, blessed, not lucky, get blessed that I went from a good dealer to a great partner. Okay, a great partner, and we didn't lose one single associate during that 9-day period. And you don't imagine how competitive business. Yep. I mean, I've got the best people, so everybody wanted to steal all my people. So I mean, we didn't lose one person.
I bet you everybody was going after them.
But the thing is, how does it happen? I got to make sure that they love working for me also. See, my job is their job's not to make me happy.
Yeah.
My job is to make them happy, and that took me a long time to learn that.
Yeah.
And I learned that through trial and error.
Yeah.
Okay? But I think once you get to that
trial
point
and
in
error
business,
is so expensive, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's so worth the price of admission, right?
Is.
I mean, but so once you get to that point, and then you keep it. Going back to the original question, I really don't lose much sleep. You know what I mean? Because a problem is only a problem if you allow it to become a problem.
So
I like I like to look at them as opportunities.
I'll bring up another Honda dealer, Paragon. Yeah, Brian.
I know Brian.
All right, so obviously a great operator, high volume, does a good job. It's funny you said that I don't lose a lot of sleep because he was going over his service process and what they're doing in terms of pickup and drop-offs and stuff like that. And somebody in the audience asked him, did you lose a lot of sleep thinking about some of these where you're losing money? And he went back to which follows the same philosophy that you have. I'm not worried how much I'm making on you. I worry about the averages, and as the average is improving. Right. And so overall, am I making more and more, from this thing? And his average numbers were so high, and it's because he wasn't sitting there nickel and diming and worrying about the ones. He was accepting all and treating everyone well, right? And so he basically pointed back to those numbers. He goes, no, my service is up 300%. He goes, I'm sleeping very well.
Yeah.
so it makes me laugh. But whether it's digital retailing or just the marketplace and where we're at right now, where do you see the biggest opportunities, or where are a lot of business leaders maybe overlooking things or missing out on things?
Well, I think first of all, they got to take a step back and not be intimidated by it. Yeah. And what they got to do is they got to learn what they don't know about it. If I was to hire you as a consultant, I'd put the Vulcan mind grip on you, and I'd want to learn everything that you learn. Okay, and here's the thing is I wouldn't come to you for help, and then argue that my point is better than your point. They got to learn how to listen.
Correct.
Let me tell you something. In this day and age, if you whatever you want to be, I was a little overweight. I told you earlier, my wife had cancer. This was her second bout. Yeah. And what we do is I said, okay, great. What's the best diet for cancer patients? Well, cancer feeds off. I want to turn this into but cancer feeds off of sugar, right?
Yep.
But we'd go to the oncologist's office and they have a big bowl of sugar candy there, and it's like, doctor, you realize that cancer feeds off? Well, your body needs a certain amount of glucose. I said, but why
Not
would
that
you?
Kind.
Yeah, why would you do that? Okay. But the thing is, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to find out what was the best diet.
Yeah.
I found out the best diet was keto, so I went on keto. So we killed terrorism with one stone. We both lost a lot of weight. We both got healthier, but it's modeling. If I wanted to get into marketing, okay, and you're the best marketer in Louisville, I want to model
just to
you.
clarify, the United States.
Yeah.
but
I think so are, but yeah.
but
there's so much information today, Scott, where you could go in and you can learn so much. And there's people like you in the industry where you can reach out.
Thank you.
And then just model yourself.
Anytime we bring on someone, and we hire, let's say we hire, whether it's through the dealerships or J&L, we hire an expert to do something. A lot of times, people on the team, dealership and both, they want to say, well, let's make sure we do this. And I'm like, time out. We're hiring this company because we think we can improve in this area.
Right.
Before we start making changes to what they're going to recommend, let's first do what they recommend and see how it impacts us. Because we start making our own changes, we tend to want to go back to what we know, right, and do what we do, and then we expect some dramatic result and improvement when in reality, a lot of that could have a negative impact on what they were trying to accomplish. So I agree with you. I like to listen to them, but let's learn. And I think that's the biggest opportunity, at least in an auto. And if auto dealers are, I guarantee you there are other industries that say,
I'll give you something you can really relate to.
They don't want to really know the numbers.
I'll give you something related. I'll take it for granted you spoke at 20 groups.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And for the folks that are not in the automobile business, that's when 20 owners get together, or general managers, or both, and we sit around the table and we dialogue on how we can make our business better. So now what we do is we bring a guy in, Scott Joseph, J&L Marketing, and we bring him in to help him improve. He's going to help us improve our marketing. And then you got 15 guys in the room. They're going to argue that what they're doing is better than what you're doing, but yet they're not performing at the levels that they should be able to. And that's just ignorance.
Yeah.
That goes back to my saying, become a better listener.
Correct.
Ask better questions.
And so this originally started because I said, where do you see lost or bigger opportunities or maybe things that are overlooked? And a couple episodes ago, I interviewed our president, Jamil, because he's probably, from a digital marketing standpoint, there might be people equal. I don't think there's anybody better. And so dealers, GMs, everyone hire, and I think it's the right path. They hire someone that the digital marketing, the internet guy, and they rely on that person. But dealers have to know the numbers. And they have to be willing to dive in and absorb it. Correct.
Let's look at the anatomy of the average.
It's the biggest budget. It's the biggest piece of their budget.
Let's look at the anatomy of the average automotive general manager. 9 times out of 10, not all cases, probably a little higher than 90%. They were good salesmen.
Yep.
So they were good salesmen, and they said, okay, great. What we're going to do is we'll make him a manager. And not always good salesmen are good managers. And then what they do is they say, okay, great, we're going to take that guy from the manager, we'll make him a general sales manager, and then we'll make him a general manager. So now here's a guy, and what he's doing is he's in there, and he knows how to operate one part of that business, because he's never learned the fixed operations. He's never learned the accounting of the business. So you got a 3-step stool, and he only knows one.
Yeah.
And what he's going to do is going to sit on that and feel every day. And I'm going to tell you why he's going to sit on and feel this, because I've watched this time and time and time again. Years ago, the curse of the car business was the dealer's son. Because what they would do is they would learn the business in 1 year and repeat it for 40 years. Okay? And what they do is they would never learn. So what happens is this guy comes in, and this is probably 90+% of this industry. They don't know the difference between an RO and a PO because they never educate themselves. A lot of guys, I've been part of 20 groups, don't know how to read a financial statement.
Right.
And they're running the places. So what they got to do is they got to educate.
That's right.
You got to learn. And we're in a society where you can learn, you can get as much education as you want.
So I talked a little bit earlier about getting lucky, right? One of the things that we got lucky here is a lot of times, so you have a guy that kind of oversees all your digital marketing, I assume?
We have a business on our campus.
On
our campus, we have a business development center manager.
Okay. Yeah.
Mr. Taylor owns a company called Automotive Advertising Group. Okay, and I tell you what, he hires the best and the brightest.
Yeah.
I tell you something. I wish that I could interface with the guys more.
Yep.
And I'm a big believer in strength-based management.
Yep.
And unfortunately, when the guys come to town, I have to force them to come see me. And I'll say, hey, you come down, spend some time with me. And they'll say you're not doing bad enough. And I was like, I wish I could spend more time with these guys because they're absolutely brilliant. And if you can imagine the data that they get from these hundreds of stores, right? I mean, it's phenomenal. I don't have to reinvent the wheel.
So what you just said, can you spend time? I really want to learn all. So a lot of dealers, so that's not the normal dealer, right? The normal dealer or group is out there and they've got this one guy kind of helping them oversee, maybe managing the vendor, the digital, whatever agency they're working with. And they rely on that person. Well, that person isn't always paid by the bottom line of the store.
Right.
So sometimes changing an existing relationship is a pain in their ass.
Our ships are always sailing in the same direction.
Yeah, and so, but what you just said, so we started working with a couple guys and that were in charge of this, and they really dove in, and they had that exact same mentality. So one guy, Matt Kellogg, Gates Auto Group, you know the Gates Group. All right, so he calls and he goes, hey, they've got 10 rooftops, and he goes, I want to come in for a day, and I want your digital team to sit down with me, and I want a deep dive. I want to tear everything apart and really look at opportunities where we might. And I'm going to tell you, and we optimize every day. We're doing all that stuff, right? But for one, that day we're sitting there like originally we're like, all right, a great customer. We're going to do what he wants, right? And we're thinking, time off. But he does them quarterly now with us. It's become part of our process, part of our thing. For that exact reason that you mentioned.
It's brilliant.
Because for one, it's helped us really identify even new opportunities. But what it's done for him is it has educated and raised. It has been this relationship where we've both benefited so much because we're learning more about what he wants to accomplish and better ways to get it there. And it's such a deep dive that we've uncovered things and it just keeps improving. But where he was 2 years ago, from his digital knowledge to where he is today, it is night and day. I would argue that group has probably the best, if one of the best, if not the best people in that position than any dealer group in the country. And so, and there's a lot of huge groups out there. And so, but it's just, what it took was someone that was so willing and wanted to do exactly what you're saying. Just really dive in and learn it and know it. And it's such an important part. It's probably the biggest part of your ad budget. If it isn't, it's right up there.
Oh, it's there.
Yeah. So, I mean, it just plays too big of a role. You have to dive in and you really have to know what's going on. It's not the same all these strategies, and it's not all the same.
So we do a 30-day performance review every month.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Where do you see, like, especially in the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see things really getting shaken up?
I know myself.
Yeah.
I'd like to become faster.
Yeah.
And friendlier.
That will definitely never change.
And I want to get faster, friendlier. I just look at. It's hard to believe.
But what's going to shake that up to where do you think I think this is going to go away and this is going to happen, or
competition?
Yeah.
I think competition. You related to it earlier that a lot of dealers were forced into the digital selling. Okay.
Yep.
And I think it's either. You're either going to get on the road to success digitally, or you're going to be left behind. They're not going to have any other choice.
Jim Press, he said a couple conferences ago that in the next 10 years the dealer base will be cut by a third, 30% reduction. So that obviously is not going to impact stores like yours, but the stores that don't adapt and don't come on board with all this stuff.
survival. You have no other choice. I mean,
Correct.
the adapter get left behind.
And if people are going to be dropping off and delivering and all this other stuff, I don't necessarily, the convenience of having someone 5 minutes from my house isn't as big of a deal to me if they're willing to bring it and drop it off and do all that stuff. I don't care where they're located.
Jim's obviously an automotive icon.
Yeah.
But what to do to quote a older icon, Lee Iacocca,
Yeah.
it hasn't changed. You lead, you follow, or you get the hell out of the way, right? So that's going to happen if you don't get it. If you don't start embracing it now, starting to educate yourself and getting better, faster, and friendlier.
Yep.
You're going to be left behind.
And so you're already doing some big changes that I think head into the direction of where the biggest shakeup's going to be. You're doing a $6 million improvement on the back end on the service side.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see the entire model flip. I think in 10 years, you're going to see the majority of the dealership footprint is going to be service with very small variable. It'll be very nice. It'll be very customer friendly, but it's going to be about the delivery. It's going to be about, and less about come in and walk this lot of huge inventory and stuff like that, because I think it's going to be just more about, if people want things faster, how do we get them without having to carry the huge inventories? How do we get them what they want faster? How do we get them the information faster? We're already headed in that direction. I don't need to go to a showroom to get the information anymore. And so why do you need to have such a huge showroom? You physically have to be able to service the vehicles.
In variable operations, I don't believe that the brick and mortar is as important as it once will.
Yeah.
Was. I mean, look at Carvana.
Well,
they have no showrooms.
Yeah.
But guess what? But the advantage that we have over the Carvanas is that not only are we selling the car, but we're servicing the car also. And then when you have something goes wrong with the car, because let's face it, they're made by humans.
Yep.
If they didn't break, we wouldn't have service departments, right?
That's right.
So but when they break, how are we going to take care? So what we want to do is, we want to take care of the customer from soup to nuts, and then guess what? When they're ready to do a car, do it again.
I mean,
and we want to earn the right to get that next purchase.
I read where Amazon is looking, because let's face it, all these brick and mortar stores, with what's going on right now, a lot more people working remotely. So it doesn't matter if you're retail or even office space. We've got this big building. I don't need half of it anymore. And one of the things, we were pretty good when all this started happening. We got in front of that and started preparing and
scaling down
and just making sure we could. So when everything shut down, we were still 100% functional and could do everything remote. So I read where Amazon is sitting there saying, we're going to look at malls as distribution centers. And so, because a lot of this real estate is going to become available. And so I'm sitting here thinking, if I'm a manufacturer, why wouldn't, and I like the dealer product, the dealer's going to have to service cars. You're going to have to be able to service these cars, and you're going to have a good community presence. And I think that's one of the biggest advantages dealers have. Why not set up regional, huge distribution centers? Let them house the cars. And you sold one, and all right, this distribution center's in Cincinnati, and I'm just going to go up and get it and deliver the car to the person. and so why do we?
Well, to a certain degree, when you again being a dealer, you know that. I mean, how many cars does a dealer trade a month?
Correct.
I mean, as a dealer, I look at that and say, okay, great, I'm stocking 300 cars.
Yeah.
And you guys are locating 60 a month.
That's exactly right. You're
already
doing it. You're already doing it. So why send it out to all these places? I'd rather have a dealership where maybe I've got one car of every model, right? And maybe I have an example or two of the different trim levels. So if someone wants to see it in person, but outside, or test drive it, but outside of that,
my opinion of that is to go back to your slogan, is crush. See, I have more vehicles, therefore I have more available, therefore I sell more. So what I want to do is I want to crush. I don't want to ever level the playing field. Okay, and you want to beat me, giddy up.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? But I think what happens is if you went to that.
But the marketplace does want to level it, right? Because the reason we get pushed into becoming the reason
I would argue that, Scott. I would say that the marketplace wants the availability. Now, whether you have the availability, or she has the availability, they want the availability. And then what they want to do is they want the simplicity in purchasing or servicing.
So I agree. And so what I mean by that is this. The marketplace wants to commoditize and marginalize us because they want less differentiate. They want to make it harder for us to differentiate our stores. So where you're going to succeed and where you're succeeding in this commodity type, you're differentiating yourself by making it easier, making it fast. You're focusing on what the marketplace really wants.
The customer.
Correct. and so to me, I think that day's coming. And so I know the flip of the store is going to have to come. How they manage the inventories and things like that, who knows? But I think that day's down the road. It's going to probably come sooner than we think. How do you stay up to date on things with? So you're big on learning. God, everything's moving so fast. How do you not get overloaded?
Well, what I do is I keep it simple. I mean, really do. I'm an easy guy. Keep it simple. I have key performance indicators that I concentrate on. Yep. And what I do is I focus on the things that impact the business profitability wise the most. Yep. And then I don't worry about everything else. I think what happens is dealers today, general managers, they want to be all things to all people. And I think what I do is I'm a very focused guy. So I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on the things. I go through the NROD. I pretty much touch everybody in my organization, but I only communicate with really 3 people. I communicate with my comptroller, my service director, my sales director. Okay. Now I know everybody pretty much by first name, and I know about their kids and this and that. But I let my people do their job.
Right.
I don't I'm not
take the handcuffs off.
I'm not a micromanager.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed because I've got really good people.
Yeah.
And they share the same philosophy, so we're like-minded.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. That didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
I had a cousin that's a tenured professor at the University of West Virginia. Drove up a couple weeks ago.
I'm sorry about
that. And he bought a used 2020 touring Accord that came out of my rental service, and he was like really impressed. He said, because the day he came in, I had previous plans. He came in on a Saturday. I had previous plans with the wife. She's the big boss. Yeah. So I met him and his wife for dinner later. And he said, "Wow." He said, I met Chuck. Chuck said he was with you for 19 years. And I met Ryan. Ryan was, and he was, to me, it's like a proud papa. It's like, he was impressed with my people in the process.
Yeah.
And
that's the greatest compliment any business.
Yeah, I didn't pay him to say that, and and he kind of a pain in the butt to begin with, but for him to be bragging about it, it meant a lot.
That's great.
Yeah.
So you just said that you have certain metrics, that you pay attention to. What are those? What are the ones that you really key in on?
Currently, because they don't stay consistent.
Well, they have to check.
They don't say currently it's
big picture stuff.
Well, no, that's real simple. I address them every morning. Yeah. And number one is right now is appointments. The more appointments we get, the more vehicles we sell. So I concentrate on engagement.
Let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Before you go on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
Appointments aren't hitting the number. Where do you start looking? What do you do to figure out? Let's say it happens 2 or 3 days in a row. So now all of a sudden you're like, something's off here, right? What do you do?
You're gonna start hating me because of this. I listen and ask questions.
Okay.
I listen to the incoming calls, and I see.
Nice.
And normally, when we're not getting the appointment, we're not engaging properly. We're not following our scripts.
Yep.
We adapt our scripts to the marketplace, and and normally when we get off script, we don't get an appointment. What's great is we identify quick enough. Okay, then we can contact the customer and then turn it into an appointment. The other thing is that when we do engage with the customer, is call the customer up and simply watch. It's so simple, and a caveman can do it. Hey, Scott, you called into the agency. You were interested in so and so car. I noticed that you made an appointment and come in. Why not? Yeah. Scott, I noticed that you made an appointment. You came in. You drove the car. You didn't buy it. I was wondering why not. Our customers will tell us we're doing wrong.
That's right.
Now, what we do with that information, what we do with that data, is all up to us. But if you're not listening and you're not asking questions, you're never going to get to that point. So I mean that's the number one way to do it. And guess what? Every time because I mean, first of all, I maintain my sanity in this business because I come in every day and I don't expect anything to go right.
What other metrics you look at?
Currently, right now, used car inventory.
Okay. Yeah.
You know, I have. When I wake up in the morning, one of the very first things I do, I let my dogs out first, and I fire up my computer. And what I do is I look at yesterday's trade-ins. I was really proud today. I'm going to brag a little bit because what I do is I reappraise every trade-in. Yeah. So I look if there's any more meat left on the bone for a particular car. As of this morning, what I do is also when I look at the inventory, I look at the cars that we take it on trade. Yeah. So what I do is I price all the cars. I put the descriptions on all the cars. I dictate what warranty the cars are going to receive. Okay. Yep. You know, so if hands on, I'm the dealer and the used car director. Right. So and that's one of my babies.
Well, what's nice about used cars is you don't always have the control over how many new cars you're getting, especially those are lean right now. And not that
under normal circumstances, you're right. You could control how many used cars you
correct.
Get.
It's a little harder now, but at least it's a little more in your control than on the.
But that's one of my key performances is I want to stock a minimum of 150 quality purchased traded vehicles. I want them properly priced. I want them properly pictured, properly descripted, properly reconditioned. See, one thing I don't want you to do is. I don't want to put a car on my lot and you as a sales associate, okay, have to make an excuse about it or apologize for
Correct.
it. Okay.
Yep.
And then the beautiful thing in me doing this is because I'm also the complaints department, by the way. See, my associates don't handle any complaint. So if I'm reconditioning a car and it wasn't in reconditioning right, there's nobody else to blame but myself. So guess what? I'm going to do everything I possibly can to eliminate complaints. I wish there was a piece of wood here. By knocking on wood, we really don't get a lot. One of the things I do in my customer lounge, I get a little sign in my customer lounge. I get two faces. Okay, happy, a little smiley face. If you're happy, tell your friends and relatives. And then the other little sad face. If you're unhappy, tell me, Mike Porro. And I got my cell phone number on it. It's right in my service department. As I told you, I don't sleep a lot, right?
Yeah.
So I mean. It's amazing. I'll be at home 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock when people think we're safe. Nobody's going to answer the phone. Yeah. I answer the phone. Yeah. And there's always the same thing always happens. There's dead silence. Yeah. And it's like So guess what? I mean, if something goes wrong, it's my job to make it right.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm going to hire you,
you're also eliminating the middle in the sense that if your philosophy is, and you're really taking it to heart, and you're listening to customers. You're getting it firsthand.
Sure. It's priceless.
Yeah.
It's priceless, right? I mean, why not get the direct feedback? Yeah. I mean, you're telling me how to fix my business. Why the hell would I ever get mad at you for that, right?
Yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong.
That's
right?
outstanding.
I mean, if you go on the internet right now, we've been with the dealer of the year in the state of Kentucky for Honda dealers for 7 years running, 8 years running. Okay. You look at you look at my Google, you look at any of my social sites. The volume that we're doing, okay, and the volume of people that we're keeping happy, and we're going to continue doing that, and we're always looking for ways to be better at it.
Yep. Is there anything we have not discussed that you think is important?
I don't know about you. You can see I get excited and passionate.
And we have so much stuff that we talked about even prior.
I have no idea how long we've been talking. Cindy, I know I had a Honda conference call at 1 o'clock. I missed.
Are we past that? All right, so you're going to have to find ways to edit some of the other stuff in because
you're easy to talk to, Scott.
Well, I love it. I just love your one thing that I know we talked about prior was when you're in an industry that is being marginalized or commoditized, and autos definitely, the marketplace is really pushing people towards that.
Now, do me a favor. What's your definition of it being marginalized? When you're saying it?
When you have tremendous pressure on your profits, and so on the sales side, everyone's already raced to the bottom. It's a tie, so you can't advertise high price. I mean, you're just not. So the front end situation there is so you got to find ways to make money, but you look at it differently. Right?
Voltaire said the game of life is played not on the cards you're dealt, but how you play the cards. Right. So I mean, I just play the cards, man. I rolled the punches, man.
But see,
as a kid, I boxed competitively, right? So I mean, you learn you're either going to roll a punch or you're going to get hit by a punch, right? if I'm going to stand in front of you and I'm getting marginalized and it's going to keep getting punched, so I got to find a way. I got to find a way to counter that.
But see what you're fighting me on this marginalized and commoditized, and that's what makes you successful with it. Because to me, and I've interviewed a lot of people on this, the ones that are most successful, they don't believe they're a commodity or that's the situation.
Oh my God,
so
it is.
It's because when you start believing it, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You hit the nail on the head. I don't look at my used cars that I'm a used car dealer.
Yeah.
It's a commodity.
Correct.
Here's the thing. If gold is trading hypothetically at $1,800 an ounce,
yeah.
Why in the freaking world, okay, would I advertise my gold at $2,500?
That's right.
Now, I mean, the car dealers want to blame Dale Pollock for this, right?
Right.
It's not Dale.
No.
Can I tell you something before Dale? I kicked myself in the ass because he was smart enough, okay, to hire people smarter than me and him, okay, to put together an algorithm, okay, to figure this thing out, because I was doing it years before. You know what I used to do? For years and years and years, I'd get the Courier Journal every day, okay? I'd go from Audi to A to Z, and I'd look at whatever cars in my inventory, and I'd say, okay, great. So Scott's advertising his Honda, his '89 Honda Accord for X amount of dollars. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna be lower. Okay?
That's right.
When I was in the Los Angeles market, I found that by mistake over
Was
a
that a
couple
competitive
cocktails.
market?
Oh my God, I loved it. I tell you what, I got out of it because it was too good for me.
Yeah.
I mean, I was going in. I was working 12 hours a day, and then I had my entourage. I was going to the bar and talking about it for another 4 hours.
Yeah.
Okay? And it was like either change my lifestyle, or I would have lost my wife, and I probably would have been dead by now, right? So this was coming to Louisville was a lifetime choice for me. What you're seeing is like the slowest I possibly can get. When I first came to town, I scared the living heck out of people.
Yeah.
And I was like,
that's great.
And when I came here, I never forget. I had a sales meeting. When I first came to town, I was running the GM stores for Sam, and he's really, really competitive. He used to be one of the largest Pontiac dealers in the country, and at the time we had 4 dealers in town. They were number 3 when I came here. Okay?
Oh wow!
I never forget. I got done the first week. I got done with the meeting, and I always asked the meetings. I said, "Well, listen, anybody have any questions, comments, or concerns?" And one of the guys raised his hand. He said, "Mr. Porro, we really like you. You're really helping us close deals, but half the time we can't understand what words you're saying." Because I talk so fast. I had to learn how to slow down and adapt my market. And it's funny because throughout the years, a lot of people say, well, they bring people from out of town, and they can't understand why when they bring these people out of town, why they can't can't adapt to our marketplace. Well, see, the thing is, what the mistake they make is they want the market or the associates to adapt to them, and rather than them adapt to the market. So I came in, and believe me, I've accomplished so much more through humility, okay, and being humble, and then coming in and say, okay, well, great. It'd be like me coming in and you say, Mike, I want you to be my CEO, and come in, and also I want to change I want to change the philosophy, okay, and I want everybody to start doing what I'm doing. So I came in, I adapted to their philosophy,
What's great about it's funny because this whole episode's about adapting, right, to a fast-changing business. And so you are again talking about it in a different format. And so we'll end on this conversation right here, and that's this. When I bought my stores, the first thing that other dealers and people would say, or even the dealer we were buying from, they'd ask, well, what do you plan to do, and this and that. Well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, and you can't do that in this market. All right, so you come from a much bigger market, obviously, LA. You come to Louisville. I'm sure you took a lot of what was successful there, adapted to the marketplace here, and I'm guarantee you there were either people within your team and or competitors who were like, that will never work here, not in Louisville. This is too small of a town. Everybody knows each other. Talk to me about that transition.
Well,
because clearly it worked.
Well, I got to tell you something. It was very successful. Because I had when I first came to town, I had Pontiac and GMC at the Auto Center off Earthsport Lane, and my corporate headquarters was upstairs. It was a satellite point, so we had the Pontiac, GMC, and used car operation, and then I had down on Shelbyville Road, I had BMW, Pontiac, and GMC, and pre-owned automobiles. And at that time, within a very short period of time, because I tell you, the growth came rapidly because the people embraced me.
Yep.
Because I made the process real simple.
Yep.
I mean, I made it so simple that anybody could do it. I was at the time I was working with a company called Automotive Profit Builders, and I'm not saying they're a bad process, but I truly believe a bad process is better than no process. So when I went into the organization, it was really easy for me to turn it around because there was no processes in place. So I went in, put a process in place, get everybody disciplined. They weren't stocking the proper amount of vehicles, so. I changed the way they did their inventories, and we were successful. Then there was a store out in the West End, Winston Pissman came available. We bought them. Then we had another store. We made that store successful, and then the
How do you get people to adapt, though? That might be a little. We're in a part of the country that's not the greatest for accepting change. So,
well, if you take our market area, okay, Louisville, and add it to the car business, because car people change and stuff. What you do is you got to look at WIFM, what's in it for them, right? I mean, you got to look at what's in it for them. See, if I could, in simplest terms, I'll tell you what, and I don't want to sound like a cliche, but I read this many moons ago. It says people do not care how much you know until they know how much you care, and I think what you got to do is you got to show them how much you care. And let me tell you something. When you come in the morning, okay, and you say, okay, Scott, give me all your tough customers, all the people that you couldn't do anything, and then we sit down and we smile and dial together. We're in this thing together, right? And when I sit down and I look at the data, your performance, your data. Here's another thing: the average sales associate, who's collecting their data? You go in an average dealership and they look at a motivator boy and say, oh man, Porro sucks. He's having a bad month. And then they're like, well, why? Because you ask them why. They don't know. Okay. In my organization, I know how many people you talk to. I know how many demos you got. I know how many write-ups you got. I know how many offers you got from that write-up. I mean, I could pinpoint and find out what you're wrong. Hey, and what I do is when I look at that, I don't even want to look at the names. I'll take a piece of paper and I'll cover the names because all I want to do is I don't want to look at the person,
right?
Because I might like you better than I like him. I don't care about that.
No biases.
I want to look at the performance, so I can pinpoint that. So what I did was when I put Automotive Profit Business, I started looking at the performance and coaching people based on performance. Hey, Scott, like this, the average guy right now in the store has talked to 20 people. You only talked to 10, buddy. You need to talk to more people. How can I help you talk to more people?
Yeah.
Okay. It may be just as simple as exposing yourself to the front door.
Yeah.
Okay. If people aren't coming in through the front door, guess what? Now I may got to teach you how to prospect, right?
Right.
Show the benefit of prospect. Why don't people like the prospect? You know why? Because they don't get the spontaneous results that they want.
That's right.
So what you do is you got to teach them. Say, listen, Scott, what's going to happen?
A lot more rejection in the prospect.
Yeah, Scott, but the more rejection you get, the more money you make, right?
That's right.
But they don't know that because nobody's training them.
That's right.
So you got to look at it. You got to look at them as like you're raising kids. And it's got to be something in it for them. Because if it's just you and you making money, you'll never run a successful organization.
And so we'll close on this because I lied. I just said we're 2 things ago. We're close, but it keeps going. One of the reasons I wanted you on here is I've been recently seeing some of your TV commercials.
Yes.
All right. And so there's a big mistake I think a lot of people make. They want to communicate how big they are, how long they've been in business, and all. It's about, in other words, if I'm advertising that way, it's about here's about me, here's about me, here's about me. You live this customer-centric thing because when I watch your commercial, it is not about you. It is not about really your dealership. It is about what your dealership can do for me, the buyer. I mean, you literally, I love that. It's almost like this. You're sitting in a chair, right? And you're literally pulling up the app because let's face it, that's where people are researching. You're living in their world and you're making it real to them. And you're walking through why they need to look at you and you make it so easy. And it just is like, it's so clear and simple. And I thought the commercial was a great example of adapting to what the marketplace is, and I just wanted to give you that compliment before we kind of close up.
Thank you very much. So, the thing is, what we do is we had to make we had a great product and we wanted to expose it to more people.
Yeah, you have to
because it was a well-kept secret.
Yeah,
but it's no
good if no one knows.
No, and it's getting better. It's getting better every day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, like we talked about earlier, the more customers that are using it, the more opportunities you have to improve it because you're going to get more feedback, and so I love it. So
but the success we're having, believe me, it's not me. It's having great associates and great customers. Really, we're
awesome.
Blessed. Really, really blessed.
Well, I want to thank everybody for tuning in from the MCC Nation. It's another episode of Move, Crush, Count. I want to thank Michael Porro from Honda World. We're going to listen, if you're in the market for a car, go to LouisvilleHondaWorld.com. Look him up. And listen, if you want examples of what we've talked about here, just go. Make sure you put test in under the name so they don't waste their time, unless you're buying a car. But
we'd appreciate any type of feedback. Hey, if we're doing something wrong, we're not going to get better.
Yeah,
unless somebody tells us.
So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Make sure you check out move.crush.count.com for all past episodes, and also you want to subscribe to that because that way you can get brought up to speed on any future guests we're going to bring on in new episodes. Check us out on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all those great places. Until next time, though, we'll see you on the next episode. Thank you.